The episode starts in a flashback. Ezra got hurt in the recent alien attack. His wife, Lynn, gears up to grab some medicine for him. Ignoring Ezra's complaints, she jumps into her van and heads to the nearby pharmacy. Jumping back to the now, the sparks are bringing another person back to life. This time, a blonde lady. Meanwhile, deep in the woods, a scout from the Skin Riders gang tries to snatch some food. A wild squirrel monitors from a place. Out of nowhere, he gets smacked from behind, knocking him out. Turns out the attacker is a young girl in shabby clothes. She's been living solo in the area, surviving by hunting and scavenging. After taking down the scout, the girl grabs the food and goes about her business. Meanwhile, Ezra roams the wilderness in search of food, while Abram and Fina compromise on a herb soup concocted from crushed wild plants. The previously incapacitated scout awakens and promptly reports the assault to his superior Silas. The Skin Riders resolve to apprehend the assailant first and then recover the item Ezra had been carrying, now deemed a threat due to its lethal impact on one of their own. In another part of the settlement, Fina and Abram scrutinize the enigmatic object when suddenly the obelisk emits a series of symbols. Abram deciphers the symbols. The obelisk urges Fina to journey to the lake alone, as the sparks have revived a human. Accompanied by the red drone, Fina sets out into the jungle, unaware of the Skin Riders shadowing her every move. Back at the settlement, Abram delves into the enigmatic object, aided by the yellow drone, uncovering a fascinating revelation. Within the Skin Rider's parasite lies a brain composed of over 100 billion nerve cells, intertwined within an organic crystalline framework. This crystal brain facilitates telepathic communication among the Skin Riders, enabling them to relay messages over short distances. Furthermore, the mysterious object serves as a weapon against the Skin Riders, capable of shattering their crystal brains. It is primarily designed for the Skin Riders' ancestor, a repository containing the collective memories of their civilization. Upon a Skin Rider's demise, its crystal is extracted and added to the ancestor, ensuring the perpetuation of its life and knowledge. The Skin Riders have safeguarded the location of the ancestor, prompting Abram and his companions to seek it out and eradicate it. As Fina arrives at the lake, she assists the newly revived human out of the water, only to discover that it is none other than Lynn, Ezra's wife. Lynn, initially bewildered, finds reassurance in Fina's promise to clarify the situation upon their return to the settlement. Their reunion is short-lived as Jax unexpectedly appears, cornering the two women. Thankfully, the red drone intervenes, allowing Fina and Lynn to flee. However, their escape is short-lived as Duncan and his fellow Skin Riders capture the red drone. Despite Fina's recognition of Duncan as her lover, his connection is severed by the parasite controlling him, leaving him indifferent to her emotions. In a desperate move, Lynn strikes Duncan from behind with a wooden object as he attempts to attack Fina. The duo manages to flee to a nearby stream, where Lynn, weakened, decides to stay behind and divert the pursuing Skin Riders, while Fina pledges to return with Ezra for her rescue. Shortly thereafter, Lynn finds herself in the clutches of Jax, positioned near the lake. Exploiting her bleeding feet, Jax summons the sparks from the lake, collecting them into a bottle. These sparks, fueled by atomic compounds, possess the dual ability to resurrect humans and heal various injuries. Skin Riders gather these sparks to balance their human aspects while nourishing their parasites, fondly referred to as the companion. In the subsequent scene, Jax instructs the remaining members to pursue Fina. A flashback then unfolds, portraying Jax and his unit engaged in a fierce battle against the aliens. Seeking refuge within a pharmacy, Lynn, simultaneously in search of medication for her husband, overhears gunshots. When the chaos subsides, she ventures into the corridor to aid a man suffering from war wounds. This man is revealed to be Jax, a former soldier before the alien invasion. Drawing upon her nursing expertise, Lynn tends to his injuries. Back in the present, Jax finds himself alone with Lynn when he suddenly suffers a blow to the head, knocking him unconscious. To Lynn's surprise, the assailant is revealed to be the same young girl encountered earlier in the episode. Lynn decides to follow the girl, who leads her to a secluded compound where she has been residing alone. Despite the girl's apparent muteness, Lynn struggles to communicate with her, yet the girl shares some of her food and water with Lynn. Meanwhile, Jax regains consciousness and begins tracking Lynn's whereabouts. The scene then transitions to a flashback where Lynn tends to an injured Jax. With shrapnel lodged in his leg, Lynn performs urgent surgery to prevent further complications. Grateful for her efforts, Jax expresses his gratitude to Lynn for saving his life, especially when she donates her blood to aid in the surgery. In the present time, Jax, under the sway of the parasite, stumbles upon Lynn and the young girl, trapping them. Lynn, quick on her feet, strikes a deal with him, offering herself in exchange for the girl's safety. Reluctantly, Jax concedes, allowing the girl to flee deep into the woods to secure her freedom. Lynn, in turn, finds herself escorted to the Skin Riders' hideout, where she is met with astonishment upon seeing her brother-in-law, Silas, at the helm of the group. Meanwhile, Fina successfully returns to the settlement and relays the grim turn of events to Ezra and Abram. Driven by the urgency to rescue their friends, Abram implores the obelisk for aid. Suddenly, the obelisk responds with a flurry of symbols, prompting Abram to hastily retrieve pen and paper to record them for further examination. While in search of paper, Abram comes across an old notebook left by previous settlers. To his surprise, he realizes the handwriting in the notebook is his own. It's filled with patterns and symbols similar to those shown by the obelisk. To his amazement, he discovers that everyone, including Ezra and Fina, lived in the settlement before. They passed away for some reason and were reborn in the lake under the control of the obelisk and the sparks. In a flashback, we see an older Abram rushing his sick wife, Tasha, to a hospital. The older version we witness is because he was reborn in his prime years in the present. It turns out the sparks bring people back to life at their prime age because that's when they are strongest and most fertile for building a community. Meanwhile, Silas imprisons Lynn, locking her away in a cell. He coerces her into joining the Skin Riders by injecting her with a parasitic crystal. Later, he instructs Duncan to repair the red drone and alter its programming to serve their interests. Back at the settlement, Ezra, Fina, and Abram devise a strategy to convince the obelisk to aid in rescuing Lynn. They propose protection during the rescue operation in exchange for locating and destroying the ancestor, the core of the Skin Riders' power. The obelisk consents to their plan, indicating its agreement with a peace sign. Encouraged by this sign, Fina and Ezra embark on a mission to rescue Lynn. Meanwhile, Silas is talking with Duncan and Jax about his main plan. He wants to make their companion more powerful by shutting down the pathways to their human side. But to do this, they need help from the red drone and their ancestors. So he tells Jax and Duncan to take the red drone to the ancestor and figure out how to make their plan work. Back in the settlement, Abram thinks his wife Tasha might have lived there too, as he was there before the sparks brought him back. So he starts looking for proof that shows Tasha was also there. The yellow drone steps in, taking him to a graveyard. It turns out to be the resting place of the first settlers, including Ezra and Abram himself. The drone meticulously scans each gravestone, extracting DNA and cross-referencing it with its database to unveil the identity of each deceased. Regrettably, there's no trace of Abram's wife in the records. Abram's heart sinks, expressing that his existence feels void without his cherished wife by his side. Witnessing his despair, the yellow drone extends empathy, prompting Abram to contemplate the purpose behind their resurrection, the formation of an upright human community. Offering solace, the drone suggests that since Abram resided in the settlement before, he likely carried on with life and possibly even raised children, despite Tasha's absence. Meanwhile, Jax and Duncan engage in a debate over who should lead their quest to reach the ancestor. In a decisive move, Jax immobilizes Duncan by tethering him to a tree, forging ahead alone into the depths of the forest. Simultaneously, Fina and Ezra discreetly trail a scout, aiming to reach the Skin Riders' camp. Duncan, overhearing their movements, calls out for assistance. Fina, thrilled to see her lover, is reminded by Ezra that Duncan is now aligned with the Skin Riders. Duncan attempts to manipulate them, asserting that his parasite is weaker than his human side. He claims that since sensing Fina's revival, the parasite has been progressively weakening. Duncan proposes a plan to undermine the parasitic influence, putting on a facade to deceive Silas. While Fina appears somewhat swayed, Ezra remains skeptical, suspecting Duncan's ploy to secure his own freedom. After a brief discussion, Ezra resolves to proceed with the rescue plan, leaving Fina behind to assist her lover. Meanwhile, in the Skin Riders' camp, Lynn manages to free herself by cutting the belt binding her wrists. She submerges her parasite-injected arm into a pot containing sparks, temporarily healing her injuries. Lynn ascends a brick wall, discovering a shaft leading to the cell's exit. Elsewhere, the yellow drone triggers a profound recollection within Abram's mind. He is transported back to a time when his wife fell critically ill due to a stroke. During one of his visits to the hospital, Abram encounters an elderly woman who claims to be a volunteer. She offers him solace by providing a comforting blanket. Later, while Abram rests, the woman clandestinely enters Tasha's room, releasing a blue drone and retrieving a bottle of sparks. Despite her efforts to heal Tasha, the attempt proves futile due to Tasha's weakened brain. The blue drone remarks that they cannot obtain her brain state, indicating that the woman and her associates had prior access to sparks. Their precautionary measures, including the collection of brain states, suggest that they were prepared long before the onset of war. In the present, Abram embraces the Yellow Drone's counsel, discovering a renewed purpose in his life to foster a community of virtuous individuals within the settlement. Meanwhile, Jax reaches a lake and plunges into its depths, eventually arriving at the sacred cave housing the ancestor. He establishes a connection with the crystals there, leading him to a desolate location where the ancestors await. In the woods, Ezra endeavors to sneak past the Skin Rider's guard, but is apprehended in the process. He is brought before his brother, Silas, the leader of the Skin Riders. Their meeting is interrupted by news of Lynn's escape from her cell. Silas promptly, telepathically, relays the information to his members, urging them to search for her. Duncan, upon learning of the situation, resolves to aid Fina and her allies. Deceptively, he misleads the Skin Riders about Lynn's whereabouts, diverting most of them away from the camp. This diversion creates an opportunity for them to rescue Lynn and Ezra from captivity. Shortly after, Fina spots Lynn hiding in a secluded corner. She guides Lynn to safety in the woods while Duncan ventures ahead to liberate Ezra. In a flashback, Duncan hurriedly arrives at Fina's apartment, informing her of his impending relocation to another state for work. Though saddened by the news, Fina bids him farewell and wishes him well. Meanwhile, Jax demands his ancestors reconfigure the Red Drone to enable the Skin Riders to block neural pathways to the human mind. The ancestors caution Jax about the potential dangers involved before agreeing to demonstrate the reprogramming process. That's it for now. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you're interested in the next episodes of this series. Thanks for tuning in.